Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Friday, thank goodness, February 22nd, and don't know about y'all, but I'm glad the week is finally wrapping up. I need a break, but it's been a really good trading week. It's really been a good trading month. We're getting some movement. We had some movement today, and we really traded up into this channel here. We broke out of that channel, and we're starting to head up again. What I would What I'm thinking at this point is that we're probably, I would say that's leg one. Then we went into this, so I'm thinking, not saying we're going to get there today. We're close. We might. I'm thinking that that's probably our target until we're proven otherwise. So, um, 1514 area, 151350, 1514 area. I would suspect that's where we're moving to. Um, this was resistance. Notice we broke above it finally. Now it acted as resistance and it held, and that's what you want to see to go long. And, you know, both of these trades would have worked out. Now, um, will we see prices continue to go higher on up to our target? I don't know. I'm suspecting that, but we'll just have to wait and see. They may not. It's Friday. It's 2:15. The volume has already slowed down quite a bit. We had all of this movement till about 11:30. But from 11:30 to almost 2:30, we've had this right here. So you can see the volume starting to dry up today and so forth. But let's talk about the trades. Let me back out and make this a little larger. Um, you can clearly see the range is from about 1504 to about 1509. So about a 5-point range is what I would call it. But what we started out today with was what looked like a spike and channel, and that's really what we had until we just couldn't get above this resistance at 1509, and then we made a double top, and then we started selling off, and we had this down working, and this channel just worked down to the low side. And then we got in another channel and it started working to the upper side. The channel was really strong and a lot tighter to begin with. And there's a perfect two-leg measured move there and then a two-legged correction. And sometimes you even get another leg from here that's similar to that. So you might even be thinking, if we keep going higher, my next target above 1514 would be 1517 to 1518 area. So you can't rule that out either now. So lots to think about there. But the key is you stay with the price action. A lot of people really get thrown off by these trading ranges. I love these things. They make trading just really easy. And you really didn't know you had a range until you got the kind of triple top here. And then when you started seeing it still holding across here like this, then you kind of know this is a range. And I can show you this too. And when we broke out of here, your first target should have been right here. And let me measure that range. You see what that is right there. Oops. There's the measurement of the first range. And look where it went. Exact target. And that's where it found resistance. And of course we got on through there. But you don't want to be going long out of here. You got to wait till you get a couple of retests to make sure that it's going to hold as support now. And it is. It held a support. So then you got to go long again. And there was really a long right here. I didn't really circle it. It's just a two-legged pullback. But at this point, you didn't know if this was going to hold. It was really dangerous kind of going long there. If you took that, I think it actually worked. It looks like it did. The entry would have been 10 and a quarter. And it exactly. I mean, how many times do you see that happen? It got exactly enough ticks to scalp out with 4 ticks on a limit order. And I can't tell you how often that happens. And, that's why we go for 4 ticks. And that's why most professional scalpers tend to pick 4 picks for their scalp part. So, but anyway, let's talk about the trades. We were in this trading range. You shouldn't have had any problem finding these highs and lows. We bounced off of it right here. You could have gone long right here. This was a little questionable with all that overlap, but coming off that range and being close to the high, you can expect some resistance. So, but I I think it was worth entering right there above that, because that's really a second test of the trend line. You tested it once, you backed up, you pulled back and tested it again. Great place to go long. It got a little scary when it started pulling back. You may have gotten shaken out, but if you did, you could have re-entered again here. We'll talk about this in just a second. You just about had to take this one. This is a second entry coming off that low, and there's still room to get out, because at that point you would have probably had this line right there. And you see that's exactly where it went to. And the reason is because that was the last closes where you get the most touches. But then it kind of moved down because your closes and most of your touches were here now. But at the moment, your highs were up here, so there's enough room. This one's maybe a little questionable. This trade worked here. You had to fight this pullback, and that's not uncommon for them to pull it back like that, because this was a lot of overlap, and what happens when it breaks out of congestion, it snaps back and tests it and then goes higher. You always test previous areas, and that's the little pullback. But when this one happened and you got hung up here below at this previous resistance, I definitely moved my stop on my runner to right there, and you would have got out at break even on this. Actually, you might have lost a tick if you got in with a stop order. So you might have lost a tick. But even if you didn't get out there, when it turned back up here and this ended as a doji and that ended not going outside of that possible line right there, and I got this line by drawing it off these two lows first, and I just, if you do that and you drag it up, you see there it is. And so that's how I got that line. And when we bounced there twice, then you knew. And there really was a short right here, but we hadn't had a trend line break yet, so I was a little bit, the rules say, you're still looking for longs, but we just kept selling off. So I never really started getting interested in longs until I knew we were in this trading range, and that's when we got outside here and started bouncing again. And but we were still looking for shorts, and there's, you can see that once you realize you were in this trading range, and this is a solid range. When it came back here, there were multiple reasons to go short both times here. Not only did you have the downtrending possible range, but look at all those matching highs. That's a one-tick failure. It turns down. You go short right there. Easy scalp, nothing more. And guess what? It bounces right there where all the lows were, and turns up. This was not a good long, because unless you snuck in back here somewhere, because you're having to get in way up here near the EMA, too close to the high to get out with a scalp. So, and you're still better off to be looking for shorts, because obviously this is more like a trading range, and you got to go to range rules. And but then you get another double kiss. That's what I call confluence. You've not only got the downsloping trend line, but you got all the highs there. And it turns down again. You go short right there. I really thought we were going to catch a big move down here, but it didn't happen. And all I got was a scalp. And I reversed, actually, this one. I tried to get long right here with a limit order. Didn't get filled, so I got in right here. And it was really, really scary when we came off that line again. And I almost exited this one, but I didn't. I hung on. And because we weren't quite back to the highs, and I felt really confident this was a trading range by that time. And there we go. And we actually broke out this time and turned back down. You got that big bearish bar. You can go short right there. The little doji there made it kind of suspect, but you got to figure this is the first break of this trend channel, so we're probably going to make a new low. And guess what? It comes down and makes a new low, and then it reverses. And there's a great reversal bar. That's rejection right there. And if you didn't enter right there long, you definitely should have entered when it turned down again and turned back up right there. And you can see that took off. Any runners were easily safe on that one. And you could still be long right now. And notice we're bouncing off this trend line again. So great place to go long right there. I love these kind of trades. There were no ifs, ands, or buts about this. It was a two-legged move. It's a break of the trend line, the two legs down to a new low. It's a failed break out of this trading range, and your target should have been right here at a very minimum. And if you're smart, you may have just held on. I exited mine. I didn't want to get greedy because this trade, this pretty much, and adding on here, pretty much put me in the money, but I did exit all my trades right here on that bar. And I didn't actually add on here, but you could have jumped in here if you weren't already in, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So there was a chance to either get in here or add on. Notice that this was resistance. We broke above it, and look, we tested it once, we tested it twice. A double test, anytime the market tries something twice and it fails, it couldn't, it tested that twice, it held. That's a good sign we're going higher, and boom, off we go. Again, I did not add on right here, but you could have entered here, and you really could have even entered here because we had this, I'm going to call this a minor trend line. We had this trend, this little channel working up, but I believe we're in a bigger channel possibly here, and it's still looking like we were. So this one really I should have probably made in green. See if there's enough room there. Yeah, because there's not really hardly enough room to scalp out there. So this one really should have been, let me mark this one in green. But the reason I didn't originally mark it in green is because I was considering, if I hadn't been already loaded up coming up here, I was considering adding on there, and I almost did anyway. But it's really close to that high, and if you weren't already in the market, it's a little bit risky to get in right there. But you can see it went right on through there, and it was a great trade. And the reason I marked it is because it's a bounce off this trend line, and there had been no break of that trend line yet. You can't hardly ignore the rules, but at the same time, you got to remember that you got this strong resistance here, and we'd met that target. So, and it's obvious I wasn't the only one that exited because it closed back down here and didn't just shoot right on through. So there was obviously a lot of sell orders, people exiting right there or whatever. And then of course you had the two-legged correction. It's getting late in the day here, but when you had this double bottom right here, right at this former, and of course this had moved down now, because now you get more touches, and the last close is right there. And notice that we had that double kiss of it, and it reverses. And this was the better entry, but if you want to be aggressive, you could have gone along here. Both of them would have worked. You see they're coming back and getting the break-even stops already. Will they get more than that? I don't know, but they've at least already got the break-even stops. I'm still thinking that the target's at least 15, what it was, 1350 or 14, but we'll see. It's Friday, so we may not get there, but that's what I saw today. And I just happened to get an email a minute ago, and somebody was asking me, how do you know how to play this? Well, you got to draw your lines. You got to know where support and resistance is. And until this holds, this was strong resistance. There's no doubt there's strong resistance across there. If you're having a hard time seeing that, you got to work on finding strong resistance, and there's no doubt that there's strong support right here, and there's no doubt there's strong resistance right there. But normally when you trade through that, you're going to look for a failure because prices are going to pull back and test it in most cases regardless. And so you want to see it hold. If it holds like it did here, then you got to be real careful about going short. If it holds a second time, then that's a second entry long, a double test of that, then it's acting as support. That's what you want to see. Then you can think about going long. So we broke above this resistance. Really, you could have shorted this, but because we had this possible tighter channel, and I wasn't too sure about the bigger channel yet, I didn't think it was worth risking this because this was a really strong market. But there's multiple reasons why, if you wanted to be aggressive, you could have taken that short. But anyway, you want to expect this to come back and test this. And it came back and it tried, it bounced a little bit. It finally got to test it twice here, and now it's trying to go higher again. So, and it may come back and test it multiple times before it finally gives up and goes on. And that's all the market does. That's the key to this whole thing, is prices are continually testing and looking for strong support and resistance, and it either holds and prices reverse, or it goes through it, comes back and tests it, and then continues moving on. That's what you should expect 9 times out of 10. And you may ask, well, why did I sell this one but not this one? Well, notice that we got outside the range there. That's a failed break. Uh, then we came down here and we failed out the bottom, but this time we went higher. And you've got this trap down here. That's a sign of a market that's going higher when you get a trap and then a higher move. And we'd already gotten outside the range once, and this was the second time. So, and there's not really enough room to scalp out there coming back and testing that. If there was more room like here, yeah, you can see it had room to come back. This one doesn't have room to come back. It came back right where you would expect it to. It could have failed and come on down, but I just didn't feel like it was worth taking. It's not a very good setup. You really just got an up down matching, two matching bars there. That's not really that's almost a trading range. So if you combine those two bars, that's a doji, and you got to be aware of that. So, but once we tested it twice, and then you get like a reversal type bar, everybody recognized it then, and that's why this closed on its high. And of course they came back and tried to fool you again, and you actually get a second entry off the new low there, and then off it goes. And so anyway, for the person that asked that question, that's, is that a simple answer? I don't know. Probably not if you don't understand price action very well. But if you understand price action, that should make sense to you. And but you just got to, it takes a lot of experience and time watching it and knowing what to expect. And you gotta, and I know when you go through strong resistance like that, it's very rare that it breaks through and goes that high. But what happened? You had all these shorts building up down through here, and these people are going to give it to probably this high right here, a lot of them, and that's where you hit stops right up through there, and it takes off running. And maybe the commercials decided to buy. You had this first leg, somebody's buying. It takes buying to make that move like that after being in this tight range and then going straight through it. That takes a lot of momentum. So somebody was buying, and then you get a little correction there, and then guess what? There's your second leg, almost a perfect measured move. And so that should have been your target once you realize we're making another leg up. I didn't give it that much room. I really kind of mad at myself. We've had so many trading ranges lately that I'm probably overthinking what I'm doing sometimes. But you can't be swayed by fear, but you can't be swayed by greed either, because they both work against you. And if I get greedy, I've made a nice profit entering here and then adding on here. I make a nice profit by exiting with two contract loads right there. And yeah, I could have got another 3 more points, but it's doubtful you're going to get out right at the top. So I probably could have made another point or two. But why risk what I already had for another point or two? And maybe I'm wrong and it turns right back down here and it takes all my money back. So it's, there's, you got to think rationally, and my rational mind says, hey, you got to exit here, because the odds are, even if we break slightly above, it's going to pull back. This right here will happen just enough to keep people trying to buy this every time it breaks out. And you know what will happen? Most of the time it'll do like it did down here. It'll break out and they'll be all selling, and it'll reverse, and they're holding on, and they say, oh, I'm going to give it to right here because it's probably going to go back down, and then it goes through that. Then they say, well, I can't give it any more than this, but this should hold because it's been holding all day. And then it comes up here and it tests it a little bit and it holds. And they're thinking, okay, I'm going to keep my stop right up here. And the next thing you know, it bounces through and it hits all those stops, and it creates that buy, and it runs it a little bit higher. So, that's why we don't buy. But this right here, you'll get that kind of move only enough to keep you to make you think that you can be profitable trading that way. In the end, if you buy and sell breakouts, you will lose every bit of your money to somebody else. And I can just assure you that's what will happen, because most of the time you don't get this nice move like that. That's rare in the ES for it to break and go that far. I'm not, it may happen tomorrow the exact same way. But in the long run, you're better off fading those moves. And if you'd have waited even here to fade it, it would have been a nice, easy scalp. So you're better off to wait and fade those and wait on the reversal bar, the reversal pattern, a double top with that big bearish bar. That's, you know, I would tell you to go short here every time before I tell you to go long here, even though the trend is up, because that's what usually happens when you break out of a big trading range. So hopefully that makes sense to people. But the more you watch price action, the more experience you get, the more you'll come to understand that you don't buy breakouts, that you're going to go broke buying breakouts. Unless it's a really, really strong day, then you just, you know, you got to get in before the breakout. You'll buy this little pullback here, this little pullback here. You know, if it's a really strong trend day and it looks like this for a long time, you just keep buying every pullback to the trend line and you'll be fine. Notice here, there never was a setup at the trend line, so you didn't get fooled there. You might have had a setup right here, but it never triggered. Then the second entry right here, and guess what? It worked. So that's why another reason I tell people, don't try to sneak in early. Wait for the signal bar. Wait for the second entries in the signal bar and that kind of thing, and you'll be better off. So, you know, play it smart. Don't make mistakes. Don't get tricked into entering too soon or exiting too soon, things like that. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you had a great week. I hope hope you learned something this week if you're watching the videos. And we'll be back Monday and we'll do this again. And look, we're still trying to go higher here. And something else to consider is that we may make another little range like this, or we may make another move like that, or we may make another leg like, my guess is this is going to be our target, this measured leg versus doing that again. So we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.